When a team is repeatedly trying to hand you a game, as the New York Rangers were tonight, you have to find a way to take it. The Rangers wanted no part of winning this game, but the Minnesota Wild did not have enough composure, did not have enough awareness, did not have enough anything to come away with the win. They somehow got a point, and they lose their third straight game, 5-4 in overtime, in a game that I would love nothing more than to just rinse out of my mind. Turnovers aplenty, leading to 2 goals specifically, and a back and forth. The Wilds getting a 3-point night for Marcus Johansson. Gustav Nyquist's first goal in a Minnesota Wild sweater this season. Eventful game, to say the least, but the Wild end up still falling by a score of 5-4 in OT. We've got a lot to talk about here tonight, so let's fire it up.
You are Locked On Wild POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
5-4 in overtime. The Minnesota Wild lose. They get a point in this one. They had the lead a couple of different times. They had a goal waved off due to goaltender interference. The penalty kill was 4 for 4. They still lost because there is still a large problem with responsibility with the puck. Turnovers are very frequent and very much an issue. And so many offensive zone turnovers, defensive zone turnovers. Declan Chisholm basically tried to own goal Filip Gustavsson at one point, and it led to Chris Kreider chipping one in. And yet the New York Rangers are so bad defensively that you're able to get a ton against Igor Shesterkin. What a weird game between these two teams, but this is not the first time that these two teams have hooked up for a weird one. It seems like it's almost an every other year occurrence that the Wild end up just playing weird games with this Rangers team. So it's just an odd matchup between the two teams. They got the point, but the Wild could easily have had 2 tonight. If the Wilds were any level more disciplined with the puck, you can win this one in regulation. The Rangers did not want to win this game. They didn't want the 2, but the Wild just kept handing them the puck. They kept handing them opportunities. And, I'm going to hold a pretty adamant line. The team is still battling. Like they're still playing at this point in the season. The lack of offensive talent is pretty evident. And so it's a combination of players trying to do way too much, players trying to do way more than they are capable of doing, trying to play hero ball. And at points, it gets downright ugly. I like to after games especially just think Sheriff in the 1800s. I like to just pull from the trigger and pull from the hip, quick trigger. And my immediate thought is that could have been a game that the Wild win, get 2 points. Now, flip side of that, you're playing You're playing in a tough environment, but you're playing a New York team that is abysmally bad defensively. They are horrendous on the power play. I saw the tweet that the Rangers were 2 for their last 40 on the power play, which led to a shorthanded goal for the Minnesota Wild. In many ways, these two teams feel similar. Now, there are stark differences to what they both bring to the table, but both teams careless with the puck. The Rangers have a lot more skill, which I think ultimately is why they ended up coming away with the game. I like this. I like this comment from KJ. Feels like it came down to skill. Rangers gave up more mistakes, but they were able to finish. They were able to finish their chances. Yeah, that's an astute observation of this game. Is finishing again is continuing to be a problem for this Wild team, and you see some signs. Boldy and Rossi starting to maybe come out of it a little bit, but there are a lot of different things that there are a lot of different things you can point to in a game like this. So let's just look at the final tallies. The Rangers had 39 shots on goal in this game. I think the number for the Wild is incorrect now that I look at this. So let me just pull up the actual totals. 24 shots for the Minnesota Wild. So that should be 39-24 in the shots department. The Minnesota Wilds won the special teams battle. They went 1 for 2 on the power play. How about Gustav Nyquist right out in front of the net? Chipping one in for his first goal in a Minnesota Wild uniform. The Rangers 0 for 4 on the power play and continued to be just absolute miserable numbers on special teams. Face-off circle not kind to the Minnesota Wild here tonight. 36-18. Rangers just destroyed in the face-off circle. And Freddie Gaudreau, who we will talk about tonight. I'm going to do the episode for today. You saw the Squadcast that was recorded earlier. Unfortunately, I was not able to be a part of that. But I'm going to do an episode on Freddie Gaudreau's bounce back season that will air after this postcast is done. So you can look for that a little later here tonight. Freddie Gaudreau was 5 of 19 in the circle. Marco Rossi was 1 of 14 in the circle. The Wilds could not buy a face-off in tonight's game, which at certain spots was an issue. Obviously cost them in a few different cases. But interesting that the Wild had 2 goals in their first 4 shots. They got bottled up in the first, but they were still able to hold the 2-1 lead. And it just that's how it goes sometimes in NHL competition. Is sometimes you are a team in the Rangers who pretty effectively bottles up all the action in that first period, and you still end up trailing. You still end up going into the first intermission down 2-1. The Wild scored on the second shot of each period tonight. The first, the second, and the third. They scored 22 seconds in to the third, courtesy of Marco Rossi, to tie the score at that point at 4-4. It was just back and forth. Hits, Rangers had the edge there, and blocks, Rangers had a slight edge there. Now, if we dive a little deeper into the numbers, the New York Rangers had an expected goals of 3.6. They got 5 goals tonight, so Filip Gustavsson was 1.39 goals saved below expected. And I look at it this way. There was, I think, 1 goal for sure that you look at and you say, hey, your goalie's got to have that one. But let's not discount the fact that the Rangers basically were given, they were basically handed 2 goals. And that's tough to ask your goalie to make those types of saves. The Panarin turnover probably should have been a penalty on the Rangers. But it's tough to put somebody with that type of skill, even though Artemi Panarin is having a bit of a, he's got 34 goals, but I think a lot of his other numbers are down. He's still he's still a really, really good scorer. So giving him a full head of steam at the top of the zone with nobody else back to be able to help, that's tough. The Declan Chisholm play was a disaster. The one where he nearly backhanded it into the net himself. Why you shouldn't, as a goalie, I like, what are you doing, dude? Get it away from the net. And puck comes free. Chris Kreider is able to chip it up and in. So the 1.39 below expected feels pretty accurate. Just Gustavsson just not as sharp as he's been. Could certainly be due to the amount of games that he has been playing so far. He got 14 starts in March and just picked up right where he left off here in April. I would not be surprised to see him start against the Islanders as well. It feels like certain guys on this team are getting burned out from just being leaned on as heavily as they have been down the stretch. Gus in particular, but Brock Faber had another 27 minutes tonight. Up and down the line, like without Kirill Kaprizov in the lineup, you're leaning heavily on Boldy. You're leaning heavily on Marco Rossi. You're leaning heavily on Matt Zuccarello to try to carry the offense by themselves. Now tonight, you got contributions from other guys in the lineup, which is exactly what you needed. How about Marcus? Let's give some props to Marcus Johansson tonight. He nearly had a 4-point game. Had the one goal that was waved off due to goaltender interference. He had a 3-point game tonight, and you could see that he was playing with a little urgency. Judd Zulgad speculated that maybe he got talked to before the game at some point about needing to step it up. If that's the case, bravo. Gustav Nyquist as well, a 2-point game for him. His first goal, a nifty feed with him on the back door on the power play. When your top guys are not handling the scoring, you need the other guys to step up and help. And Marco Rossi got a goal here tonight. Honestly, I was a little surprised that Boldy's shot did not go in, but Rossi was there to clean it up net front to tie the score. At that point, you need those secondary guys to step in and to give you the assist when the top guys aren't scoring. So it just was a weird tilt game. I'm going to be honest. It comes down to, it seems, the same things on almost a nightly basis at this point in the season. Some turnovers, missed opportunities offensively. Take your pick. It's a game of bingo. Take your pick as to what you think is going to be the culprit, and you're probably going to be right. Let's take a look at the offensive analytics for the Wild. The Wild had an expected goals of 3.13. All told, they had 35 unblocked shot attempts, 26 low danger, 5 medium, and 4 high danger. And the goals, 2 high danger goals tonight and 2 low danger goals for the Minnesota Wild. The Faber shot that snuck through was obviously a low danger shot. I'm trying to think of what the other. Marcus Johansson had the one between the face-off circles, but it was on the outer edge, so that was low danger. It was not a great night to be a goalie. It was not a great night to be somebody possessing the puck in the defensive zone, because as many turnover plays as the Wild had, the Rangers were catastrophic in that department. That the turnover that the Rangers had directly to Marco Rossi, who was able to set up Boldy for that chip-in attempt that Shesterkin got the initial save on, but then Rossi banged home the rebound. Like, Rangers were playing with fire all night. But finishing, and on a night where, like, listen to what the Rangers had for all their stuff. So the Rangers had 65 unblocked shot attempts. The Minnesota Wild had 35. Now that's shot attempts, not necessarily shots on goal, but 65 unblocked shot attempts, 52 of them low danger, 9 medium danger, and 4 high danger. The Rangers scored 3 medium danger goals and 2 low danger goals. So it was not a night for the defense or the goaltending, but the offense, again, on a night that they scored 4, 4 wasn't enough. That's a lot of what it comes down to. The Wild did get the 1 point, so that puts them in the standings right now. I think back to a dead heat, but now that the games in hand are even, I think St. Louis is still technically, so they're tied. The Wild and St. Louis are in a virtual deadlock. They have literally the same exact records, 41, 28, and 7. So what for the everydayers, what do we say about 48, 41, 28, and 7? 41 and 35. Just like equal parts high leverage, high drama, and just gross play. Both sides of that coin. So that is pretty much my assessment of what we saw. The notable performances tonight: Marcus Johansson with the goal, 2 assists. He had 3 shots on goal, played over 20 minutes. Hoptics, I'll just answer this here quickly. I vehemently disagree. I don't know if that was evident in Sunday's show. And look, Denny and I are not going to agree on everything. I disagree with the notion that the team has quit. I vehemently disagree with the notion that the team has quit, but that's fine. We're not going to agree on everything. I think this team has some pretty glaring warts on this roster. So I'm not expecting a ton if and when the postseason gets clinched, but I'm not going to say that the team has given up and is trying to get a coach fired. Like, I don't agree with that. So let's go to your comments. We're going to sneak in a quick break here. This will probably be a more abbreviated postcast. And by I say abbreviated, it'll still probably be close to 40 minutes. Heading to the Minnesota Twins game for work tomorrow. We're doing like a tour bus kind of a thing. And so I have to go in early. Also have an episode to record. So we will probably do 40, 45 minutes here tonight, but we're going to break quick and then we'll take your comments, whatever you've got in mind, whatever you have on your mind after a 5-4 OT loss for the Minnesota Wild here tonight. We will continue tonight's Locked On Wild postcast after this. Tonight's Locked On Wild postcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where is my money? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. For instance, guess who is paying for a Nintendo Switch subscription, a PlayStation Plus account, in addition to Xbox Live services? Guess who forgot that he was still doing that? Yeah, I did. Because there are a lot of transactions that go on your account on a daily basis. And it's easy for stuff to kind of get buried. Not with Monarch Money. Monarch Money gives you detailed audits of your finances, so none of that slips through the cracks. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Today's postcast is also brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives you business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including AI, web development, IT, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. You can find the right talent super quick as well. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who can deliver incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates will be at your disposal to choose from. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Tonight's postcast also brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. There is a new feature, Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. My favorite feature, though, of Game Time is the seat view, where you get to see what your seats look like. You get to see your peripheral views. So you don't pick out your tickets, get to your seat, and all of a sudden you look and you have a pillar in front of you. Game Time takes all of that guesswork out of the equation. So head to gametime.com, download the app, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Minnesota Wild lose 5-4 in overtime, and they pick up a point. So they're now back in a dead heat with the St. Louis Blues with 6 games remaining. We are down to the final 6. New York Islanders on Friday. Dallas Stars on Sunday, and a handful of games after that. I want to back up, though. We had I want to go all the way back because there was a good question. I forgot to star it, though. Of course. Asking about Kirill Kaprizov. It was, here we go, Wild Crush 44. And, of course, it didn't click it. Anybody know when Kirill is back? So, the latest update on Kirill Kaprizov is that there was positive feedback given on his progress. It was just weird. It was worded in a very odd way. It was a step in the right direction, but the team still isn't sure if he's going to be back on Sunday. The Russo tweet from earlier today, Kirill Kaprizov had a positive checkup with his surgeon yesterday and will go into the next phase of his attempted comeback. Contact. Date of the return is still up in the air, but John Hynes does not anticipate Sunday's game versus Dallas. Follow-up. For the first time, John Hynes confirmed what we've previously reported, that Joel Eriksson Ek was a 6 to 8 week injury. This week is week 6, so his return date is also up in the air. And this is why I have been so frustrated with the medical stuff, because anybody notice in the game against the New Jersey Devils at home at the X that I think it was Jack Hughes. It was one of the Hugheses. I think it was Jack Hughes. Sheldon Keefe was asked about Jack Hughes' status for that game, and without missing a beat, he said, no, Jack Hughes is out with a groin injury. He will not play. I heard that and I was like, oh, I didn't realize teams gave updated timelines on medicals. And we still don't have a firm timeline as to when Kirill is going to be ready to come back. Now, I realize that means that they're trying to do this to like the hour. They're trying to get this lined up to the hour that he can come back. But still, it's like, if Bill Guerin is worried about him saying, we expected it was going to be 4 weeks, and then when 4 weeks comes around and reporters are like, hey, what's the latest? And he like gets frustrated that he has to answer that question again. Well, guess what? It has been made infinitely worse by doing it this way, because the questions continue to stack up. Like, we're not going to stop asking. Reporters aren't going to stop asking because you say, I don't have a clear timeline. And it's, unless Kirill Kaprizov went through a revolutionary surgery, like first of its kind, to where they truly don't have a timetable. They've done hundreds of these. If, for instance, it's a simple hernia surgery or whatever, they've done thousands of those, hundreds of thousands of those procedures. It's like Tommy John surgery in baseball. The guy that does the majority of them, it's like two things, and he's got it taken care of. Like, you just get to where it's precision. It's where, okay, this surgery requires this amount of weeks of rehab, and then you can start to ramp up. And it's just been complete covert ops. it's just complete covert ops with this team, and it has been all season. And for somebody like myself who fields these questions, it would be nice to just know. Like, I get it. If it's going to be right near the end of the season, you want to keep that hope going that he's going to be able to return so that you can kind of hedge it if he doesn't and say, well, we thought he was going to be able to, and he just couldn't. I get that part of it, but also it's like there is a timetable. People's bodies are different, but there is a baseline timetable for every procedure that is ever done. And I just would like to know what it is. That's all. That's all. That's all it is. Because some teams' social media accounts will even say, hey, such and such player had surgery today. The timetable is 6 to 12 months. They like tweet it out. We didn't even know that Kirill had surgery until it was verified by Russo and Joe Smith. The team said nothing. Like, I get the whole gamesmanship thing, and Urban is saying the betting angle. I get all that. But, like, somebody's going to find out. Somebody's going to find out, and you're just naive to think that by trying to make it super vague and cloud it up, that people aren't going to keep trying to dig. Because that's how this works. And that is when journalism is supposed to do its word. That's when journalism does its job, is when people are sketchy about things. That's when they start to dig even more. So I don't know. That's why I just have been so burned out by this season, is that every day since January 28th has just been like a ticking clock. Oh, he's not back today. Maybe tomorrow. He's not back today. Maybe tomorrow. He's not back today. Maybe tomorrow. Just never ending. Wild pick up another point on a night of endless turnovers. It's an apt description. What kind of surgery did he have, Diane? We don't know. We don't know what he had. It's been speculated that it's a groin, or I think when Joe Schmidt was on here, I think he said sports hernia, which would actually track because the initial injury was reported as something that hockey players don't typically deal with, but is more common in baseball, which is definitely a sports hernia. But I don't know. Like, we don't know. And then at the final day of the season, the exit press conference, there's going to be like 9 different players that have something that, like, John Hines is going to say, oh yeah, Matt Boldy broke both of his elbows and tried to play through it for the entirety of the season. We're going to say that tracks. So I don't know. It's exhausting. What else should we talk about here tonight? Thank you for the bare naked ladies callback, creepy colors. It's exactly what I was going for. Alex Ovechkin continues his quest for greatness. Grabbed another one. He is 3 away from passing Wayne Gretzky. So when do we think this will happen? Oh boy. So the Capitals play The Capitals play Chicago on Friday. That's their next game. He could theoretically get 3 in that one. Why is this not? I just want to look at this. Oh, now it works. Okay, the next few games. So they play Chicago on Friday. They play the New York Islanders on Sunday, Carolina on Thursday. Then they play Columbus in a home and home. The Columbus plays Washington in a home and home back-to-back at Columbus at 11:30 on April 12th and home against Columbus at 5 p.m. on April 13th. Oh, gross. I would hate that so much. I don't mind a back-to-back, but there's got to be a travel day in between. Like the home-to-home, I've softened my stance on those. There's just got to be a day in between. Back-to-back, home and home is reckless. That is like free rolling. A lot of people are saying he could do it Friday against Chicago. He very well could. But I would say the more likely candidate would be Columbus. I think that's a good bet. One of those two games. And it would be great if he did it at home, because that Columbus game on April 13th, that is the last home game of the season for the Capitals. So pencil that one in. Pencil April 13th in as the record breaker. 3 in the final 6 games, in the final 7 games for the Capitals. That's the way to do it. Does it not count if it happens in the playoffs? See, I've never been clear about the whole playoff goals thing. I think in some places they count them, but in others they say no. They say that it's separate. So I think it's easy. It's safest to just get it done in the regular season, so we don't have to worry. Am I the only one who doesn't care about this record? He's played in 1 billion more games. I mean, I think it's just at this point, it's history, and we're never going to see a goal record like this ever again. Like we're never going to see anybody get close to it. So it's kind of fun for the historical context, but I am much more worried about face-off wins at this point in the season than I am Ovechkin goals. All right, let's oh my God. Okay, I'm going to read you the John Hines quotes from earlier today. The John Hines quotes. Hines says he doesn't anticipate Kaprizov returning Sunday afternoon against the Dallas Stars, but as has been Russo and Joe Smith's conjecture for some time, with a full practice Tuesday, one wonders if we could see Kaprizov play Wednesday night against the San Jose Sharks. That would allow him up to 4 games to play before the regular season's end. Here is what Hines had to say. Let me put it to you this way. The feedback we got, was in a positive direction. So we're hopeful that he's going to be able to return before the end of the regular season, Hines said. I don't have a specific date on it yet. As for Joel Eriksson-Ek, it sounds like he could be kept out a little longer, despite him skating daily with Kaprizov. For the first time, Hines confirmed what The Athletic has reported since February, that he had a 6 to 8 week injury. Eki had positive feedback, Hines said. His time frame, he's a little different because it wasn't a surgical thing. So his time frame was what, 6 to 8 weeks? This upcoming week will be 6. We're hopeful that both players will be back. I just don't have a for sure to say they're definitely going to be back We're hopeful that they're going to be. Everything's trending that way. The date, I don't want to say anything yet. Can you see how this just wears on a person? Like, look at these bags under my eyes that I didn't have January 27th. Like, they have just been steadily growing since January 28th. The last now 2+ months. I just like if the timeline is wrong, that's fine. But at least we have something more than we don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking I like this one. Last game, if anything. It really feels like it's going to be like right up to the line for Eriksson Ek. It really feels like it's going to be right up to the line for him. And the hope then is going to be that he doesn't have the same thing happen that happened against Dallas, where he comes in, he plays 19 seconds, he makes a move on his leg wrong, and that's it. That's the end of the season. Because if that's the case, then that ain't working. Because again, face-offs tonight. Face-offs are only a problem if they are a hideous problem. And they were really bad for all of the game tonight. So he would very much he would be hugely missed. Hypothetically, is it wise to sit Kaprizov for the playoffs if he can't play a game in the regular season? Don't see it happening though. Yeah, you gotta get him out there before the playoffs. And furthermore, the other side of the coin, he is going to push his way in as quickly as he can. As soon as he gets the clear to go, he is full bore. Judd was talking about that in their latest show. The players hold a lot of the cards here. You as a training staff and a coaching staff can say, let's take it easy. Let's be cautious here. But the moment he gets medical clearance to play, he is fully back in the lineup. And he's going to need some games to just get himself back into shape. So if they can get him in by that San Jose game, which would leave, I think that would be down to 4. I think. Pulling it up right now. If you give him that amount of a runway, I think he'll be in decent shape. But again, it's going to depend entirely on what the rest of the roster does. Right? This is Do you doubt he'll be back for the Sharks game? As much BS as we have been given on the situation, I think that game makes the most sense, especially if he responds well. I think that's the most likely. I think that's the most likely target, and the Sharks game would be 4 total games, counting the Sharks game left. I think that's a very logical target, and there's that practice on Tuesday. So I very much vibe with get him back in the lineup. Get him back in the lineup and let him get back up to speed. But this is accurate too. It's like that first round of golf you play when it starts to warm up and you wake up the next day and you're like, ooh, I haven't used those muscles in a while. They're gonna need a rest day. Thankfully, the Wild Thankfully, the Wild have them. If not the San Jose game, should we be concerned? Yeah, because you've got that Calgary-Vancouver back-to-back that is going to be pretty important. Because basically that is a way to just put the nail in the coffin for the two teams that are chasing you. Like if you beat the Flames, you pretty much knock them out. It's going to be a tall order for them to leapfrog the Wild anyway. Although they do have 8 games left, but in order to make up the 7 points, I think Hoptics was pointing this out last night, you have to win 4 more. You got to win 4 more games. So if the Wild go even 3-3 in, if the Wild go 3-3 in their final 6, then Calgary has to basically run the table. And that means that they need to get all the points, and they have to hope that the Wild don't get any. So basically, it's going to come down to that Calgary game. If the Wild win that game, Calgary's out. And if they beat Vancouver, Vancouver's out. So that's a huge back-to-back. That's going to likely decide the season. So you'd like to have Kaprizov in it if you can. Do the Wild need to make some changes to the strength and conditioning coach or some support or medical staff? They've had a crazy amount of injuries the last 2 years. Maybe easier camp. See, this is an interesting one because you look at a majority of the injuries that have been sustained by the team over the last couple of years. Jake Middleton broke a finger blocking a shot. And it was just because he kind of stuck his hand out at the last second to try to block it. The area that I would be more concerned with the area I'd be more concerned with the training staff would be if it is, if it's the what is the word? Chronic injuries. If it is the yeah, thank you. Soft tissue stuff. But is it the reason that the players shatter like glass? I mean, Jonas Brodin broke a bone in his foot blocking a shot that if it hits the skate, it's no problem. It's some level of bad luck, but it is also, it just takes players that as you get older, it takes you longer to heal. But I would say I don't look at it as like a training staff issue because it's not like players are straining hamstring injuries. Or, it's not like the repetitive chronic stuff like that. It's some bad luck injuries. Matt Zuccarello taking a shot to the nads. That's not a chronic. That's not a frequent injury. That's just bad luck. It's just a kind of a perfect storm for a lot of those areas. Kirill was assaulted, not Camp's fault. Well, even Brodin and Spurgeon, like Spurgeon got slew-footed by Ryan Donato. That's not a that's not a nagging or chronic injury. That there's nothing he can really do about that. Brodin blocking a shot and breaking a bone in his foot. Brodin's 33, Spurgeon's 34. Eck is always in front of the net, getting in the midst of the scrums and battling against players. So he gets beaten down a lot. It's just part of the price of doing business for some of this stuff. Where does Zeev slot in for the playoffs? Well, I think there's going to be a spot on the third pairing that becomes open because Declan Chisholm didn't exactly lock that spot down. And I've said it 1,000 times. John Merrill and Zach Bogosian may not be like catastrophic defensively, but they don't offer you anything offensively. And I feel like the offense is the bigger issue right now. I feel like defense you can make a trade-off. Is Zeev going to be as good defensively right off the bat? Maybe not, but he's going to be better offensively. I can promise you that. He's going to be better offensively than both of those two combined. Now, maybe you keep Bogosian in because he's bigger, but I think an easy spot for Zeev right off the bat is to just slot him in on that third pairing. Maybe you shuffle things around a little bit and get him some power play time too. That's where you're going to see the most notable difference with him. It all depends on when Denver loses, because right now they're looking pretty good again. So we'll see there. But I am going to try to do a real deep look at the injury stuff. I promise, when we get to the off season. Because I've got a much better plan for how to attack the offseason this year than last year. Because we did so much, like we did heavy draft all at once. We did heavy player evals all at once. We're gonna mix it up. So I'm gonna, I've got an ideas board basically. And one of the things that I want to get to very early in the process, probably within, in fact, I'll just say this, KJ and everybody else. I will probably get the injury episode once the end of season presser has happened. Because I would have probably done that last year before the presser, and then you find out that Brock Faber played for 2 months with broken ribs. So once we get that end of season, once we get that end of season presser and get the full list of the players that are having surgery in the offseason, because I really want to get some answers on that. Because the last 2 years there have been just a slew of injuries, and it's not normal. So you'd like to see something be done about it. So we'll see. But I think that's going to do it for tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, I am going to be on the road this weekend, so I will not be able to do postcasts for the Friday game, and then Alex and I will just recap the Dallas game. But then Wednesday we'll have one. Saturday, here's what I'm thinking. So no postcast Friday or Sunday. Wednesday, we'll do a normal postcast. I'm thinking Friday night live stream. I'm thinking live stream for the Calgary game because that's going to be an important one. So we'll do like a watch along like we did way back. Just hang out, have a good time, be miserable together if the game goes sideways. So let's do that. Let's plan on that. And then depending on how that game goes, depending on how the Vancouver game goes, we maybe have one on Thursday, or there are a couple of games that are played after the Tuesday game. So the Wild are done kind of early. Thinking we may do one there as well. So I'll keep you posted on that, but we'll have full recap of the Friday and Sunday games with Alex. So don't worry, we got you covered there, but then we'll get back to regular postcast on Wednesday against San Jose. Appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, I know the season has been kittywampus, but you know, we're keeping it rolling, and we will keep it rolling here all the way through to the end. But Minnesota Wild lose tonight 5-4 in OT, and we jammed for an hour about all sorts of different things. Make sure to tune in for an episode coming a little later here, or catch it in the morning, whichever you choose. We'll have one for you right here on Locked On Wild.